Hey everybody, I hope you're all doing well today. Thanks for joining us for our YouTube live Q&A. Just a number of things. If you don't mind, like and subscribe, then you'll know when we do more Q&As. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. I think there are things that Congress can be doing about inflation. Unfortunately, it pains me to tell you that Congress is not surprising to many, not working bipartisanly to address some of the issues that they can address on inflation. I'll give you a couple of my solutions right off the bat that we could be doing. At the refinery, gas is taxed 18.4 cents per gallon on gasoline, 24 cents per gallon on diesel. That is a tax. That's a tax that the federal government puts on it. We could get rid of that tax, and then gas and diesel would be that much cheaper. No, it doesn't bring the price back down to $2.50 or lower, but it absolutely makes a difference, especially to those small businesses around our community that have fleets of vehicles. There's a 12% chassis tax, excise tax on big rigs. That's just 12% more that they're paying for newer vehicles. How about we take that 12% excise tax off of those vehicles? Well, let's make it more affordable so that they're not paying an extra tax. Probably the biggest thing that could be done is what's going on in regulation with fuel, with exploration, with refinement of fuel in the United States of America. The XL pipeline, that's an easy one that people talk about all the time. That's something that we want to see brought back to law. We all know that the president is tapping into the strategic oil reserves. That's something that no doubt can make a difference, but it is a Band-Aid, and it puts our national security at risk because you got to wonder, how do we refill those strategic oil reserves if we deplete them and our military needs them? That's a very real question. So you have to have exploration. You have to have development. Iran is the largest state sponsor of terror. This administration is looking at removing Iran and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard from the state sponsor of terror list as a part of making this deal that would open up Iran to global financial markets, to getting new loans and lending that they weren't able to before, to being able to sell their goods, things that we don't want Iran opened up to if you remove them from that state sponsor of terror list. So I have a piece of legislation to say at any point that Iran is removed from that designated state sponsor of terror list or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, that it has to be a question that is presented before Congress so Congress can actually vote on that, not the administration putting something as serious like that through so they can get an even worse Iran deal through than what was the first Iran deal. President Zelensky, my favorite quote, I've said it many times that I've heard out of President Zelensky is this, him saying, listen, if the Russians are in the Ukraine, then they're in the Ukraine by themselves, because that means every last Ukrainian has fought to the death. That is incredible commitment. I am supportive of a no-fly zone, but I would like to see that began by European nations, EU. Let them show that they're willing to fight harder than anybody for their backyard. So a no-fly zone, in my opinion, shouldn't start with American F-35s. It should start with Turkish jets and German jets and French jets and UK jets. Let them show that they're willing to fight for their backyard, and then ask us to stand alongside of them and instead of standing in front of them. That's a no-fly zone. We used to have a saying in combat, in war, in order to survive war, you got to become war. That means you got to be all in or you're not going to survive. We are, in fact, in war, but we're doing it in this way where we're 1 foot out the door. And that does not make America safer at all. Probably the best example of Congress actually getting together, deliberating behind closed doors and asking questions, and maybe the only example that I could point to in Congress truly doing this in my time in Congress was what was known as the China Commission. So you had this China Commission report come out and made a number of suggestions about the origin of COVID-19, where it came from, the Wuhan laboratories, and very specific ways of holding China accountable. Those things, none of those things are being moved whatsoever right now. Should we be looking at holding China accountable? 100% yes. On that, on their expansion into the South China Sea, onto their intellectual property theft that they conduct to American companies and every other company, on their expansion of their military. Your Congress is derelict in having very serious debate about those issues, and that is a major breach of our national security. So that's not happening. What we should be doing, hold China accountable for their role in creating the coronavirus, in leveraging against the World Health Organization and making them remain quiet, in silencing reporters, and some of them that are missing to this day. These are all things that we need to hold China accountable for. One of the things that is being taken seriously as it relates to competing with China, where America has fallen woefully behind, and not just China, but other places, is the production of semiconductors. I will tell you this on a positive note. You are having serious conversations that I've seen here in Washington about getting semiconductor production back to the United States of America. Another question that's coming: President's budget and what it means for the Everglades. On a positive note, that $405 million is I believe it is the largest amount yet appropriated for the Florida Everglades. That's a very positive thing. It doesn't meet the number that Floridians as a whole, your representatives in Florida, asked for Everglades restoration and our estuaries, saving our estuaries on the east and west coast of Florida. Glad to see that amount going in. We want to see more going in. I think the number one project as it relates to cleaning up our estuaries and getting the water needed to the Florida Everglades is what's known as the EAA reservoir. It was signed into law at the state level by State Senate President Joe Negron. I wrote the bill at the federal level to have that become law a couple of years ago. That was signed into law. It's been appropriated at the state level, but what you have right now is a holdup of that right now under the current U.S. Army Corps of Engineers administration. They're holding that project up, delaying it. I'm not sure exactly how long, but let's say at least another 12 months they're delaying that project and not putting dollars into that project. That one right now, for entirely political reasons, is not moving forward. Is there a very real effort to take your tax dollars and use those tax dollars that come out of your pocket when you go to work, and then use it to pay for the health care of people that have crossed into our country illegally? 100% yes. It's not just paying for their health care, though, but it's also paying to commute them around the country, to put them up into hotel rooms, to deal with a host of other things, give them meals, housing, lodging. There were bills that came through Congress several times to ask that you, the taxpayer, pay for every single bit of their legal fees. We obviously saw it earlier in the year when there was a conversation about giving a lawsuit to families of the separated, that they would get millions of dollars. So there are very real, nonsensical, un-American ideas that are coming forward as it relates to illegal immigrants not securing our southern border. This was something that President Trump did incredibly well, and it was a day one policy that was canceled by the Biden administration to cancel the Remain in Mexico policy that President Trump negotiated in a very strong way. Had a very specific conversation with him about this one-on-one, told me the story directly, that he told Mexico, listen, you're going to keep these people that you're letting traverse through your country on your side of the border until any case with them is adjudicated. They said no. And he said, listen, if you're not going to do that, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 10% tariff on all of the goods coming in from Mexico into the United States of America. And then if you don't comply with that, then next week I'm going to raise it another 10%. And the week after that, I'm going to raise it another 10%. And the week after that, I'm going to raise it another 10%, until you keep the people that you're letting traverse through your country and cross into America illegally on your side of the border. And he said a few hours later, they called back and they said, you know what? Okay, we'll keep the people on our side of the border. That's how that deal was negotiated by President Trump, and it was canceled by President Biden, unfortunately. Last point that I'll make to everybody is this. If you need help with some federal agency, like you can't get through to the IRS and you've tried calling them 2 or 3 times, call our office, and we will get them on the line for you and get you on the line at the exact same time so that you can actually talk to them. If you have a family member that needs help with the VA, let us know. We'll help them with the VA. If you need help with getting a passport or with the Small Business Administration, let us know. Whatever it is, there's not an issue that's too small. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, a non-voter, an independent, whatever. It doesn't matter. We're here to help you as your representative office. It's the number one thing that we do. As always, it is an honor to represent you here in the House of Representatives. An honor to be your member of Congress. Look forward to seeing you all around town this weekend. You all take care. Wish you all the best.